Welcome back. This is the third clip in the Middle Arm Road ride, and obviously I'm still on Middle Arm Road. I'm on the dirt road section that I spoke about in the last video, and riding according to the conditions and according to the road. It's a bit tricky riding on a dirt road like this, and so you've got to be very careful and maintain good control and maintain a sensible speed and all those sort of things. So thank you for coming back and watching. I hope you've enjoyed the previous clips and that you'll stay and watch the rest of the clips till I get to the end of the ride back home to Golden. In this clip I thought I would talk about garden tools and carbon emissions. And you're probably wondering how those things are connected, and hopefully throughout the course of this video I will try and connect those two things, and hopefully it'll all make sense to you by the time I'm finished talking about it. Before I do that though, I want to put a bit of a context on this by talking about the state of California, because the article that I read that I'm going to talk about is based on some legislation that's planned to be implemented in California. So I thought I'd start by giving a bit of background about California. I've never been to the United States, but a little bit of research and the article itself could tell me the things I want to know in relation to this article anyway. So California is on the west coast of America. You probably know it from the Golden Gate Bridge. The population is something like 54 million, so almost double the size of Australia, more than double the size of Australia's population, which I think is now 26 million. There are something like 35 million motor vehicles registered in the state of California. California's economy is within the top 6 or 7 economies in the world. So if you looked at it and said, well, China and America are the biggest economies, then you've got places like Japan, France, Germany, UK. California's in there somewhere, and if it's not in there, it's probably the next one to those. So it's a sizable place with a big population and a sizable economy. And to my knowledge, it was one of the first states in the United States and one of the first places in the world to set up things like a clean air board and to mandate air quality standards. And since the early, I think, 70s, they've been including air quality as part of their weather forecast, and they've had smog alerts and those sorts of things. So they've been in the business of talking about the quality of the air that people breathe every day for a long time. Now, the article I read came from a technical website that mainly talks about things to do with motor vehicles, and in particular electric cars and the makers of electric cars and what's happened to the take-up of them in America, and various bits of interest, including things like charging stations and relative costs and all that sort of stuff between owning an internal combustion engine car, or an ICE car as they're called, and an electric vehicle. And this article I read said that in 2024, the government of California was proposing legislation that said in 2024 the sale of internal combustion engine garden tools was going to be banned. Now that legislation is proposed and hasn't yet been passed, but if it were to be passed, that would mean that it's from 2024 onwards, which is well before any country has set about banning the sale of internal combustion engine motor vehicles. I think Norway's the earliest, and theirs is in 2025. But well before that happens, the state of California is going to ban the sale of new garden tools that are petrol driven. Now think about, well, what does that involve? Well, it would involve your lawnmower, if you have one of those hedge trimmers, if you have an edge trimmer, or a weed whacker, as I think the Yanks call it, a chainsaw, any implement or tool that you use in your garden that is petrol driven, you would no longer be able to buy new ones that were powered by petrol after 2024. Now, according to the article I read, there are 16 million of these tools in California alone. Now that accounting is for how many things that people might have in their own yard. Like you might have a lawnmower, you might have a weed whacker as they call it, and a hedge trimmer, and a chainsaw, things like that. But then it also accounts for those people who do gardening and landscaping as a business. So people like Jim's Mowing and so on, where the guy has a variety of tools like that are all petrol driven. So it's all of those people. And according to this article, there are 16 million of these tools and devices in the state of California. The article said that the reason they decided to adopt this measure is because the small engines that are in some of these hedge trimmers and edge trimmers and those sort of things, they are not, because of the size of the engine, which is sometimes as small as 50 cc's or even smaller, and even a lawnmower has only got an engine of about 350 cc, so it's about your medium-sized to small to medium-sized motorcycle. That the engines in these small garden tools are not required to conform to the emission standards that apply to motor vehicles because the engines are so much smaller. Also, the fuel standards that apply to cars don't apply to these things because the engines are so much smaller, so you can use different quality and dirtier fuel if necessary. Now, as I say, the article said there are 16 million of these tools in California, and that using a petrol-powered leaf blower for 1 hour was the equivalent to the carbon emissions that would be emitted from driving a 2016 Toyota Camry for 1,100 miles. 1,100 miles is about 2,000 kilometres. Now, I have no way of verifying those figures, but I have no reason to think that they're not true. It seems staggering to me that, if you were walking around your yard with your leaf blower, that's a petrol-powered one, blowing all your leaves together and collect them all up to put in your green bin, and you did that for an hour, you'll be putting out more carbon into the atmosphere than you would if you drove your Toyota Camry from Goulburn to Sydney and back again, which is a total of about 400 kilometres. Now, that seems stunning to me. It got me thinking about the whole idea of carbon emissions, and as you're probably aware, in Australia, there's been a lot of discussion lately about whether the current Commonwealth government will or won't adopt a net zero carbon emissions policy for 2050. There's some sort of big climate conference going on in Glasgow in Scotland. I think it's later this month, or it might be next month. And Australia is one of the few developed countries in the world who have refused to, or have at this point not adopted the net zero by 2050 policy. And it appeared that either our Prime Minister was not going to go to this conference because he didn't have such a policy, or he was going to go to the conference without a policy. So we're still not quite sure if the government has adopted the net zero policy by 2050, but we're led to believe that he's now going to go to the conference. Now, I thought about this in these terms. If the government decides that it is going to adopt this net zero carbon emissions policy, then we have to think about how that is going to affect our lives. And we hear from the politicians about how it's going to cost staggering amounts of money, and jobs are going to be lost, and industries are going to be decimated, and communities are going to be decimated, and so on. But if we were to bring it down to an individual level, it might affect us on the level of, okay, from this date forward, in order for us to get our carbon emissions down, we're going to ban the sale of petrol-powered garden tools. So you're no longer able to, you would be able to use the ones you had, but there may even be restrictions on those, but you certainly won't be able to buy new ones. So that would have an impact on how most people look after and tend to their lawns and gardens. Most of us are house-proud people, and we're proud of our lawns, and we want to keep our gardens in good condition and so on. So it may be that is one direct impact at our household level. If those garden tools are no longer able to be sold, then there has to be an alternative, presumably. If you go to Bunnings or any other hardware store now, you can find that there are, as well as the petrol-driven ones, there are electric plug-in ones. And I have an electric plug-in lawnmower, and I have an electric plug-in hedge trimmer, but I have a battery-operated hedge trimmer. So the things with the string that kill off the weeds, I've got an electric plug-in one of those, but I've got a battery-operated one that I use to trim the shrubs and bushes and so on. So
those would be your alternatives. You would either get a plug-in one, or you would get one with a rechargeable battery. Now, the thing with the rechargeable battery is that most of them have a life of about 40 minutes or so, and that's probably long enough for you to do your yard once a fortnight or however often you do that sort of thing. But imagine if you're in the landscape business, you now need to have a couple of those things. You need to have batteries for them, you need to have spare batteries for them, and you need to have capacity to recharge those batteries while you're on the job. My son-in-law, for example, runs a Jim's mowing service business in Sydney, and he has corporate clients, businesses who want their front lawns and their outside of their property maintained and trimmed and looking nice and neat and so on. He has apartment blocks and so on where the body corporate pays him to come and trim the shrubs and weed and mow the gardens and mow the grass and weed the gardens and kill off the whippersnipper the weeds and all that sort of stuff. And so he does that 5 days a week, and he goes from job to job to job. So the tools have all got to be working. So obviously you've got to have backup batteries, and you've got to have ways of recharging the batteries while you're on the job, and so on. So that would be one change to our life. But if we went to that level, went to that measure, and all the tools that we use somehow either charged by plug-in electricity or rechargeable batteries, we still need electricity. And if the electricity is coal generated, as it is mostly in Australia at the moment, we may not have made much progress in reducing the emissions if the bulk of our electricity is still coal generated. Now, of course, in my case, for example, I've got solar panels on my roof. So if I mow my lawn and I use my electric mower, then I can tell myself, I know this is always true or not, but I can tell myself that the power that I'm using to mow my lawn is coming from my solar panels. I don't know whether that's the case or not, but certainly that's a consideration. It got me thinking a little bit about other issues that will directly or may directly impact on everybody's household. And if you think about this, for example, in heating or cooling your house, you have three options. For heating, you have electricity, gas, or wood. Now, if electricity is coal generated, you have a problem saying, well, in order to keep my house warm, there are going to be carbon emissions. Gas, there are going to be carbon emissions in order to keep my house warm. Wood, although there are allegedly no direct carbon emissions, the carbon that was stored in that tree, that was chopped down and cut down, fell down, whatever it was, to turn into wood to put in your fire, that carbon is now released once the wood is burned. But on top of that, all other sorts of particulate matter, or particulates as they call it, are released into the atmosphere. And if you go around Goulburn in wintertime, you can see smoke coming out of people's flues and so on, because they've got their wood fire going, and in some cases they've got the air vent open the smallest possible amount to make the wood last as long as possible. And all of that smoke is going into the atmosphere and may be contributing to these levels of emissions that we're talking about. So is it going to be the case that in a few years people are going to say, well, burning of wood is no longer allowed as a way of keeping your house warm? In Launceston in Tasmania, which I visit a lot, or I did before COVID went bonkers and said that I can't go there, but in Launceston in Tasmania, lots and lots of people burn wood. Launceston's in a valley, and sometimes in winter, the wood smoke will be still hanging over the town around midday or even into the late afternoon before it all starts again, with people lighting their fires and they get home from work and so on. If there's a fog, sometimes the fog and the wood smoke mixing together, and it takes well into the day for those sort of things to clear. It's not only the visibility thing, it is claimed by the medical fraternity in Launceston that Launcestonians have some of the worst lung health in the country, because there's so much wood smoke and so much stuff that's emitted with the wood smoke that goes into the atmosphere that people are breathing in every day that affects their lung health. And there have been calls by the medical fraternity in Launceston for a number of years to ban the use of wood as a heating source, and for the government to subsidise people to remove their wood heaters and replace them with something else. In Tasmania's case, would either have to be bottled gas or electricity. Now, in the case of electricity in Tasmania, all the electricity, I think 99% of it is generated by hydro, so it should be clean, and there should be no emissions from it, but electricity is quite despite that, is still fairly expensive in Launceston, and Launceston has a climate similar to Goulburn. The temperatures are very similar, so the length of the day that you need your heating on is about the same. So this article got me thinking about all of these sorts of things, and when we're saying, our government should adopt this policy or not adopt it, whichever is the case, and I have a feeling that the government is going to adopt this policy. Whether the people who adopt this policy are going to be around in 2050 is another matter, to see whether we've achieved that. But the thing is, we can't wait till 2049 and say, well, we're going to do something about this now. We've got to start doing these things now in order to achieve the goal, which is to prevent the Earth's temperature rising by more than 1.5 degrees by 2050. So we've got to start doing things now. So it may well be that once this policy is adopted by the government, that we will see things like this proposal to ban these petrol-driven garden tools, the examination of whether wood is an effective and a way of heating your house, or it's more polluting than it's worth, and so on. So there will be big changes if coal mines are closed, of course, and communities that rely on coal mining as their source of income and jobs for people, they will notice that effect. But there'll be changes at the household level that people will notice if they can no longer get these things out to use in their garden, if they can no longer burn wood to keep their house warm, and so on. All right, a little while ago, while I was talking about that, we would have passed the intersection of Middle Arm Road and a road that goes to Terralga. I think it might be called the Golspie Road, and we've come on to a sealed section of the road again. And so that's a good thing. We're coming up to a little community called Roslyn, I think, and at Roslyn there is a church and a bushfire brigade office. In fact, we might have even passed it, I'm not sure. But that's about all there is in Roslyn. The video is about to run out, so I'm going to say thank you for watching and listening, and I hope that I will have your attention in the next video when I'll find something else interesting to talk about, or at least I hope it'll be interesting to you. So thank you for watching and listening, and I'll talk to you again in the next video.